Welcome, Style Africa. I am Patricia Baby Mawa. We have an amazing show planned for you today. Our first guest is a business and personal development coach, author, and speaker. He's also the president and founder of My Dreamworks, Inc. I'm talking about Noel Walrond.
Nice to be here.
Hi, Noel. How are you?
Oh, I am powerful.
Well, I'm so
Awesome
grateful that you could be here because I know you're very busy traveling the world and just inspiring.
Well, thank you. Yes, no. It's when you called, I said I can't say no to Patricia.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Indeed.
Now, I'd like us to start. We're talking about My Dreamworks, Inc. Why did you start this, and what is it about?
I started this because for many years I had an idea of wanting to be able to help people, and I think a lot of us have ideas of things that we want to pursue, but we really don't pursue. Like we procrastinate, we put it off because. And my reasoning was didn't know how. Fear of, well, how am I going to generate the kind of income I want to generate and help people in the way that I want to do it? How can I really do this? And when I was at an introduction leader program put on by Landmark Education, they asked 3 questions that completely changed everything for me. They asked, what is your stand for humanity? What is the game you're here to play on this planet? And how big a game are you here to play? And I thought about friends of mine where there was no money in it at the beginning, but they followed what was in their heart, like Russell Peters, who's a comedian, and East Indian comic from Canada, and people thought that there was no market for an East Indian comic. He was told that, and well, look at him now, today traveling the world doing his thing. And Director X, we went to high school together, and he used to do graphic designs for me for my flyers for events that I put on, and he took the chance of going to New York to Hype Williams Studios and start to learn from the ground up. And now today he's doing videos for Rihanna and Drake and all these people worldwide, right? And so I came to realize that you can monetize anything, and it's something but when we have an idea that comes to us, an inspiration is actually an instruction from our creator to do something. And it's not a suggestion, it's an instruction.
I like that. And
we have free will, so we don't have to follow the instruction, but you'll never have peace of mind if you don't follow the instruction. You know what I mean? And so I decided that I would follow the instruction in spite of the fear. And I had no idea how it was going to start out, but then I had a little conversation between me and God. I was like, okay, just take good care of me and I'll take great care of your people. That's all I ask. And I haven't looked back. And I went and invested in mentorship. And some of that was with Bob Proctor from The Secret, and I really began to learn how the mind works, because even though I had done well before in my direct sales business, I had taught 18-year-olds how to make 6-figure incomes. That's part of the business, of what we do. But a coaching business in and of itself is a different animal than the direct sales world, and so I had to learn, and it took time, and so but in the last 6.5 years, from the time I got my first 2 people that I worked with, and I helped them get some results, today I've never advertised for a client. Like, all of my students have come through word of mouth and being invited to places like this, because of the results that people have been getting, and so, they say that the results will speak so loudly after a while you won't have to, and so so here we are.
Wow, great. Now, you also have written a book titled There's No Tomorrow, How to Beat Procrastination.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, procrastination was my nemesis. There is no tomorrow, the ultimate guide to beating procrastination. It's not just a book, because I know that when people get a book, a lot of times how many of us have books that are collecting dust sitting at home? That's how many are half read, So what I decided to do is to create an interactive experience with accountability attached. So it's the book, which is an interactive book with videos in between. When they go, there's at the end of each chapter, there's ways that they can connect to the videos that are saying, okay, so you finish this chapter, and then we have an app that goes with the book. You know what I mean? And so they'll get direct messages, hey, did you do this today? Because the truth of the matter is that even with all of the success that my students have had, without accountability, most of us are not going to follow through. It's just, we have great intentions, you know, but how many people have gone to those seminars and been to see the Tonys and the Les Browns and the Brian Tracy's of the world and left fired up, but then, you know, three weeks later, it's back to life, back to reality, right? You're right back to where you were before. So I want to make sure that that ends. So we have to create a structure for people to actually help them follow through. And when the old habits and the old mindset wants to creep up and says, hey, no, okay, I want to go back to what's comfortable, I'm afraid, that we got to pull them back and say, no, let's go, come on. We made a commitment, let's go, you know, and let's make our word mean something. By the grace of God, we are launching the 10 million strong in, you know, this fall. And we're going to help 10 million people beat procrastination. That's our first goal, is 10 million people worldwide to beat procrastination. So and so people actually in your audience, if they go to wearedreamaholics.com, they can pre-register now.
Dreamaholics.
Yes, a dreamaholic is one who's completely committed to making their dreams become a tangible reality.
Planet Africa Television will be right back.
Afro Global Television is a global super channel that transforms the destiny of people of African descent through programming that informs, empowers, entertains, and uplifts. The mission of Afro Global is to showcase the best of Africa and the diaspora.
Watch Afro Global Television on Channel 2472 on Bell 5 and Channel 708 on Rogers Cable.
For people to pursue their dreams, they have to have a strong conviction of what it is that they're passionate about or what their purpose is. How can people kind of discover their purpose or passion, if you will?
Okay, we got like 2 minutes on this segment, right? So, I have a sort of step-by-step process, and it's one of the things that people can actually do as they're listening to this. If you're at home, grab a pen, and let's do it right now. So first thing we want to do is we want to make a list of all the things that you absolutely love to do, the things where you would do it for free. And so when you've made that list of things, now a lot of times there's 2 or 3 things people have and they're really excited about. I'd say choose the one that you can monetize fastest first. I guess because the first objective is to get yourself, you got to pay your bills. You know what I mean? We got to be practical. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so if we can do it doing something that we love, but a lot of people say, well, what if I choose the wrong thing? You won't know if it's right or wrong until you're doing it. You need to remember that sometimes we're waiting to make a decision and waiting for the perfect time. There'll never be a perfect time. And nothing can happen until you do something. So we can continue talking about it, you can continue rationalizing, justifying, but at the end of the day, you're going to have the same conversation 6 months from now, a year from now, and 10 years from now, if you're not willing to take a small step today. And it starts with baby steps, and that's one of the things that we help people do. They have this big vision, let's reduce it to the ridiculous. Let's break this down in terms of what, on the lowest scale, what are some of the basic things that I can do to begin the process? You know, and like people will look at you on television today and think that this just happened. You know, it didn't just happen. It's been step by step. You know, you know, and you got to fight it out, go through the challenges, and some people say, well, it's hard to be an entrepreneur. It's hard to go after your passion. And well, what's the alternative? If you go through Bible, Quran, Torah, Bhagavad Gita, take your pick. You know what I mean? Nobody who's accomplished anything worth talking about hasn't had to struggle. That's just a part. You have to struggle just to come to life. Millions of sperm into the womb. How many made it out? You. You know what I mean? You won the very first race you entered, which is the right to exist. Yeah. Wow. You know what I mean? You're the greatest physical manifestation of anything that God could have made you to be. Like, you're the best because you made it. You were the one. So let's not take that for granted. You know, and life is a limited time offer. We don't know when our time's going to be up. None of us are promised past today. And so while you have the strength, while you have the health, while you have the ability, and while you have the time, let's go.
Wow. Wow, lots of nuggets. Now, you did mention something that is different, because I've listened to a lot of, motivational speakers, and they say, just pursue your passion, quit your job and go do what you love and that kind of stuff. You said, choose one you can monetize first. Now, let's talk about timing here, because I know sometimes you have your passion, but then you have bills. So when is the right time to make that jump? And,
Thank you for asking that.
Yes.
Oh my God. Look, I never ever tell anybody to just quit their job, particularly when they haven't had experience in that area. A lot of times, theoretically, things may seem nice, but when rubber meets the road, you're going to get the realities that you're going to have to deal with. I say you keep your job until, and you build your dream part-time. You know, it's like a second job. It's your part-time job, and treat it like a part-time job. Respect hours, the same way you would if you were working on a part-time job. Respect having to learn the craft as you have to on a part-time job. When you're making more, equal to or more on a part-time basis with your enterprise than you are on your job, now it's costing you money to show up at work. You know what I mean? And when it's costing you money, then it's time to go. Because if you can do this on 4 hours a day, you know what I mean? Imagine what you could do with 12. I understand that this moment, I'll never get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. What are you trading your life for? Who are you spending your time with? What are you spending your time doing? And if you're on a job doing something you really don't like, my God, you're trading your life for something that you absolutely don't like. Come on, let's go. It's worth it to at least give it a shot.
Right. So what I hear you saying is, don't just take the jump and leave your job without adequate preparation for the next step. So do the right homework and
no question about it.
Yeah, and there are times when you just have to jump, because if you do your passion part-time, you'll never get there. So
well, some of those people actually, part of the thing is that people are living lives where they're overextended as it is. You know what I mean? You're in cars you can't afford, living in homes you can barely afford, living on credit. That's not the way you should be living. We should be, first of all, cut back on the expenses. So instead, if you're renting and you're paying $1,400 a month, why don't you go rent a room for $300 a month? You know what I mean? And cut back on your expenses. You know, one of my mentors said, if you manage the costs, the profits take care of themselves. You need to reduce that overhead.
What quick tips can you give to people about how to, enjoy financial freedom? I know you've helped so many people move from broke to being financially, sort of in charge of their destinies.
Oh, really in charge. I have a lot of people who have gone from broke to 6 figures, and I have a couple of people who have coached who have become millionaires. So it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. You know what I mean? And if you have, right now, there are 3 different types of people. You're either a deficit person, that means a person who spends more money than they earn, which is a habit. You're a break-even person, so you spend everything you make. Or you're a person who's a surplus person, where you have money left over because you've managed your money properly. Learn to live on 30% of what you earn. If you can't live on 30% of what you earn, you're living beyond your means. If you don't manage $1,000, you're not going to manage 10,000, you're not going to manage 100,000, you're not going to manage $1 million. I know people who make over $1 million a year who are in worse condition than some people who are making $70,000 a year because they are heavily leveraged. They borrow, borrow, borrow. The only reason that you should ever be borrowing is for if a line of credit or a loan is for the purpose of investing. And so the return should be greater than the amount of interest that you're paying. I guess you do not use credit cards or loans for buying personal stuff and personal items unless you're using it for business expense in which you're paying it off within 30 days, so you're not paying the interest. An interest payment is a delinquency payment. It's called a delinquency payment. So like this, a credit card wasn't meant for that purpose, you know what I mean? So that's bad debt, if you will. So that's number one. Number two is, for people who are entrepreneurs, a lot of people that because I coach a lot of entrepreneurs, and most people aren't putting in the time and they're not talking to enough people. I ask them, network marketers or traditional business people, how many people are you speaking to in a week about what you do? Well, 10, 5, 15, 20. Really? You know what I mean? Like, if you're not talking to at least 50 people a week about what you do, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. You're not serious. My mentor, Bob Proctor, he has a private jet, and when he's on the jet traveling to do one of his engagements, one of the guys was on him on the plane doing selfies, taking pictures. Bob was working on the plane. And so when they landed, he said, look, for the last 3 hours on the flight, I was working. This dude was taking pictures. Don't be him. You know what I mean? So it's like all this, looking at all this stuff on the news and all about this depressing stuff that's happening in the United States. What does that have to do with you? No matter what happens to the economy, during the Great Depression, that was what all depression is. And there is another one that's coming. There's a currency crisis that's coming. So if you haven't managed your money, you better start doing it now. Real talk, it's real, it's coming. All it means is there's a transference of wealth. People who have managed their money well look forward to those because we can buy stuff cheap. We buy low and we sell high. So if you manage money properly, and by the way, one last thing I'll say, and I'm not an advisor, so this is just some of the things that I've learned that people may or may not choose to use. Jim Rohn, the late great Jim Rohn said, whatever you see the 99% of the population doing it, run away. Do the opposite.
Wow, a lot of good stuff. Well, we'll just take a short break, and when we come back, members of the audience will be able to ask Noel some questions. Stay with us.
Planet Africa Television will be right back.
Welcome back. We still have founder and president of My Dream Works here with us, Noel Walrond, and thanks for being here, Noel.
Thank you.
We're just going to have some members of the audience ask you some questions, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'd love to. Let's do it.
So we'll just take our first question here from Farida.
I just started a business called Global View Education. It has an online conversation class for kids called KDPAL, and we do some other stuff. For me, this is a business I've been doing since January. I've had this dream to make almost every kid bilingual. I've decided not to go back to teaching come September because I want to face this business squarely. But I have this thing in me that says, oh, are you sure you're doing what you're doing? What the decision you're taking is right. But I want to believe, yeah, the decision I'm taking is right because I'm confident and I know this is what is needed. What do you think of me with this short information I just gave you?
Again, I don't know what your financial situation is. If your business is up and going already, the question I have is, are you generating enough income to cover your bills?
Yeah, for now, yes.
Okay, first we need to release the thought of for now. It's because because if it's going to be for permanent, it's got to be yes. You need to know your numbers, and you need to know what you're generating each month, and it's not by chance. We reach out to X number of schools, we reach out to X number of people online, we reach out to X amount of people through our marketing. Based on that, 10,000 people being hit, we get 10 people or 15 people or 20 people or 50 people joining every month, or people who are paying monthly for this program. There's no guesswork in it. It's a numbers game, you know what I mean? And you just have to know what your law of averages is, the number of people that need to be reached in order to secure the income. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And so in terms of, first of all, you don't need justification from anybody in terms of what you're doing. If it feels right in your spirit, that's fine. I always tell entrepreneurs you should have savings behind you, because when I was in the direct sales business, before they would promote us, they had to know that we could produce a certain amount of income 2 months in a row, because anybody can have a good week. You know, we want to know that you can produce consistently. So I'm not into the whimsical. I just don't, because I think I've seen families get into ruin, and some people will say, well, Noel, you're the coach and you should be telling people to go after it. Yes, responsibly. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Not everybody who's starting out has the opportunity to pay a good consultant $500 or $1,000 an hour for good entrepreneurship coaching. How do you know when someone is ready for that stage in their business or entrepreneurial development? And if you're not ready, what are some basic steps that anybody could have access to get to that point where they can benefit from the additional coaching?
When I first started out in making that investment, like my first mentor, it was just under $20,000 for his program. That's not what mine is, I'm saying. Now, when I first started out with that, I took out money from my house, you know what I mean, to go to do this. And to me, if you have the desire in you, you need the education, you need it now. Like, there's no question. Like, the question is this coach credible? Can this coach act? Does they have a track record of results? And if I followed what they asked me to do, will I get results? If your answer isn't yes to all three of those things, then that's not the coach for you. Some of my top students to date are people like Yolanda out of Houston, Texas. She's a psychotherapist. Her pastor paid for her to take my 60-day program, The Game Changer. She had, $18 in her bank account when we met. And she had like one or two clients a month that she was doing, barely making ends meet. She's doing over $250,000 a year now. And this is inside of a couple of years. Sometimes you need to do what you need to do to find the way to make it happen. Spike Lee started out with credit cards. You know what I mean? Trying to make his first movie. Like, part of the reason that I get coaching is to reduce the learning curve and increase my efficiency, make certain that, because we're limited by what we are aware of, by what we know. You know, and you need to be getting, sometimes, and we all, including myself, have blind spots. You know what I mean? And so you need somebody on the outside looking in saying, hey, you know what? A slight tweak here, a slight adjustment here, all of a sudden you're like, boom, gone. There's a certain point where the teacher's job ends and the student's job begins. It is not the coach's job to do it for you. It's the coach's job to provide structure, support, and guidance. They're like the quarterback, they call the play, and then you are the team that goes and executes. You have to execute. All of the success my students have, I didn't do it for them. I provided the environment for them, but they did the work.
Planet Africa Television will be right back.
Afro Global Television is a global super channel that transforms the destiny of people of African descent through programming that informs, empowers, entertains, and uplifts. The mission of Afro Global is to showcase the best of Africa and the diaspora.
Watch Afro Global Television on Channel 2472 on Bell 5 and Channel 708 on Rogers Cable.
My question is, what piece of investment advice would you give a recent grad who just started working? What financial strategy should we use for the upcoming crisis?
And again, I'm not a financial advisor, so this is my disclaimer. First of all, live within your means. I really don't believe in renting. I believe in renting is like standing on the end of a street corner handing out $1,000 bills every month. You're building nothing for yourself unless you're in a situation that's very temporary, like it's where you're feeling a place out. But people who've been renting 10 and 15 years, you know how much money you've lost? Come on, like, I mean, you're not building equity. You know what I mean? So the first game plan ought to be, how could I get that first property and what would I need to do to qualify? The banking rules are tightening up here. I mean, I know this is going worldwide, you know, and throughout the continent, so different things are in different places. But I would start also looking at different places you can invest that are cheaper than here. And so I would be living on that 30%, banking the 70%, have 2 and 3 jobs if I had to. I would also be looking at opportunities online, perhaps where I could start to generate money from home. You know what I mean? Because there's the job, but then there's also that things that you can do after hours. Listen, while other people are partying, you're online working on your money. You know what I mean? You're getting paid. I'll give everybody this as an assignment, okay? Take a calendar right now of 1 week. Take a calendar of 1 full week at a glance. Half an hour intervals from the time that you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed. Start filling in, how do you spend your time from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, Monday to Sunday. You'll begin to see how much time is really being squandered. Yes, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take all of those places, the time that's being wasted, and we're going to put in new activities that are actually going to be income bearing and also relationship bearing, because sometimes having an all work and no family, that's not healthy either. You know what I mean? And so all my students, I give them what's called a daily 6. There's 3 things for personal and 3 things for business that they're going to accomplish each day. Family and friends are important, and it's an important balance in life that we need to have. Sometimes it's difficult, you know what I mean? The people find it difficult, but you have to book it, just the same way you book the meetings, because if you don't invest in those relationships, you're not going to get the return. You know what I mean? So health is also important. Some people say, well, I don't have time to get to the gym. You don't have to. You can do push-ups in bed. You can do sit-ups in bed. What's your excuse now? Are you getting my point? So taking care of our health, taking care of our finances, taking care of our relationships, and yes, taking care of the passion, that business or the career that we really love. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Noel. I mean, this has been very eye-opening for me personally, and I must thank you for all the great ideas you shared. And I wish you all the best with your book, Game Changer, and all your initiatives.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. 10 million strong. Y'all coming, right?
Yes.
Y'all part of the 10 million? Are y'all part of the 10 million?
Yeah, I am.
Let's get it.